In this video, we will be assembling the Brinly 2-in-1 Sweeper Dethatcher Combo Attachment for use with lawn tractors and riding mowers. With this 2-in-1 Sweeper Dethatcher combo, the dethatching tines will flick the dead grass and thatch up to the surface, where the sweeper will push thatch and more into the easy dump hamper, so you can keep your lawn healthy and save yourself some time to enjoy it. Tools required for assembly: 2 1/2-inch wrench and sockets, 2 9/16-inch wrench and sockets, pliers, and gloves. Step 1. Using the parts in Panel A of the skin pack, attach the upper frame assembly to the brush housing assembly by passing 2 5/16-inch by 1.5-inch carriage bolts through the brush housing and upper frame assembly, securing them in place with 2 5/16-inch nylon lock nuts. Repeat this step on the other side, passing 2 5/16-inch by 1.5-inch carriage bolts through the brush housing and frame assembly, securing them in place with 2 5/16-inch nylon lock nuts. Step 2. Add the lock pin to the lift handle by passing it through the middle hole on the lift handle, adding a 5/16-inch lock washer, and securing it in place with a 5/16-inch nut. Secure the pin in place by holding it with pliers and use a 1/2-inch wrench to tighten the nut. Using the hardware in Panel B, attach the lift handle to the lift link. Pass the 90-degree bend in the lift link through the bottom hole in the lift handle as shown. Then pass the hex bolt through the bottom hole on the frame assembly centerpiece. Add a 5/16-inch flat washer and pass the bolt through the middle hole of the handle. Complete the handle assembly by adding the spring, another 5/16-inch flat washer, and securing it in place with a 5/16-inch lock nut. After tightening the lock nut, loosen as necessary to allow the lever to move freely. Step 3. Using the hardware in Panel C, slide the flat grip onto the lift handle. Then, install the tow tubes to the upper frame assembly by inserting the ends of the tubes into the ends of the frame and lining up the holes. Pass a 5/16-inch by 1.5-inch hex bolt through the frame and tow tubes, securing in place with a 5/16-inch nut. Repeat this step on the other side, inserting the tow tube into the frame and lining up the holes, then passing a 5/16-inch bolt through the frame and tow bar and securing in place with a 5/16-inch lock nut. Step 4. Using the hardware in Panel D, attach the Hitch Clevis assembly to the tow tubes by passing 2 5/16-inch by 2.25-inch bolts through the 2 holes on the end of the tow tubes and through the holes in the Clevis plate that correspond to the height of your hitch. Step 5. See page 10 in your manual to determine the correct Clevis setting based on your hitch height. We will be installing the Clevis for a hitch height of 10 inches. Loosely add a 5/16-inch hex nut to the end of each bolt. You may want to adjust this height after attaching the piece to make sure your tow tubes are approximately level with the ground. Secure the nylon lock nuts fully when the proper Clevis hitch level is achieved. Then add the Clevis pin and secure in place with the hairpin cotter. Step 6. Hamper assembly. Using the hardware in Panel E, add 1 3/8-inch hex nut on each end of the hamper stop rod until they are approximately in the center of the threads. Then insert the ends of the lower tubes into the ends of the rear tube, lining up the holes in both. Put each end of the hamper stop rod through the holes in the lower side tubes. Step 7. Lower the assembly from Step 6 into the bottom of the hamper. Add the second rear tube to the hamper with the holes facing down by sliding the rear tube through the sleeves in the top of the hamper. Then, with the flat side oriented to the bottom, slide the upper hamper side tubes through the sleeves on the side of the hamper so they connect into the ends of the second rear tube. and place the flat ends onto the end of the hamper stop rod next to the lower tube ends. Using the hardware in panel F, add a 3/8 inch lock nut to each end of the hamper stop rod. Then, place the plastic J channel over the top of the hamper rod, moving down the rod to cover it completely with the J channel. Step 8. Use extreme caution when installing the tension rod. Safety glasses and gloves are required, as the tension rods require some force to install and will remain in a bent position of tension after the rods are installed. While standing in the bottom of the hamper, insert the end of the spring tension rod into the lower holes. Then pull up on the upper rear tube and insert the other end of the spring rod into the upper holes by bending the tension rod. Note, the tension rod will make an audible snap when it is inserted, and it should be slightly bent with tension when installed correctly. Step 9. Tie one end of the pull rope to the middle of the rear tube. Then pass the rope through the hole in the handle and tie another knot to add the handle to the other end of the pull rope. Step 10. Snap the side flaps to the snaps on the bottom of the hamper on both sides. Step 11. Using the hardware in panel F, attach the hamper mount tubes by sliding a 5/16 inch by 2.5 inch hex bolt from the outside through the hamper side tube, then add a 5/16 inch flat washer, the hamper mount tube, another 5/16 inch flat washer, and a 5/16 inch nylon lock nut. Tighten with a 1/2 inch wrench and socket. Repeat this step on the other side, adding a hex bolt to the side tube from the outside and adding a flat washer, the hamper mount tube, another washer, and securing in place with a lock nut. Step 12. Attaching the hamper. Add the hamper to the sweeper by inserting the ends of the hamper mount tubes into the ends of the toe tubes and placing the Clevis pins through both tubes and securing in place with the hairpin cotters. Tip 1. To raise the windscreen, remove the cotters added to the side tubes in the last step and slide the elastic straps on the end of the windscreen around the hamper mount tube. Then replace the ends into the toe tubes and reinsert the Clevis pins and cotters. Tip 2. Leveling the sweeper. Attach the sweeper to your riding mower and adjust the lift handle to position the brushes approximately 1 inch off of the ground. Adjust the Hitch Clevis assembly up or down to maintain a level position of the frame. Next, we will be assembling the Dethatcher kit. Tools required: a 1/2 inch wrench and a 1/2 inch open or deep socket wrench, pliers, a level, and a tape measure. Step 1. Adding the tines. Lay the tine tray upside down. Note, the flange on the front of the tray should be the same direction as the side flanges, facing up. Then, assemble the 12-wire tines to the underside of the tray. With the tines pointing parallel to the front flange, line up the bend in the tine base with the square holes, and from underneath, slide a 5/16 inch by 3/4 inch carriage bolt through the tray, and holding the tine in place, slide a special washer and a 5/16 inch nylon lock nut onto the carriage bolt. Tighten using a 1/2 inch open socket wrench. The square holes in the tray will keep the carriage bolts from spinning, so only one wrench should be needed. Repeat this step for all 12 tines, making sure to leave the center hole in the back row of the tray open for the pivot bracket. Step 2. After all 12 tines have been added to the tray, add the safety wire through the center of the tine springs, inside of the coils on both rows. These will connect the tines together in case one loosens or breaks. The safety wire must be secured in place as shown by bending the ends with a pair of pliers to create a loop around the 4 end tine coils. Now flip the tray around to rest the piece on the tine tips. Step 3. Attaching the lift handle. Add the pivot bracket to the tray by lining up the hole in the short end with the center hole in the back row of the tray. From above, add a 5/16 inch by 3/4 inch carriage bolt and secure in place underneath the tray with a 5/16 inch lock nut using a 1/2 inch open or deep socket wrench. Attach the base of the lift handle to the outside of the pivot bracket by sliding a 5/16 inch carriage bolt through the pivot bracket and adding a 5/16 inch flat washer. Then slide the lift handle onto the bolt and add a 5/16 inch lock nut. Tighten with a 1/2 inch wrench until the lift handle is barely free to move. Step 4. Attaching the dethatcher to the sweeper. First, remove the two 5/16 inch bolts that attach the toe tubes to the upper frame from step 1 in the sweeper assembly. Then attach the left and right mount brackets to the inside of the toe tubes, resting the top above the bars and with the straight edge facing forward. Using the same hardware that was just removed, attach the mount bracket to the tubes, tightening fully with two 1/2 inch wrench and sockets. Step 5. Adding the dethatcher. Position the previously assembled dethatcher inside of the toe tubes with the tine tips facing forward. Measuring from the ground up, locate the holes that are approximately 6.5 inches from the ground on the left and right mount brackets. Note, this page in your assembly manual can be used to determine the 6.5 inch measurement. Attach the dethatcher by passing a 5/16 inch by 3/4 inch hex bolt through the mount bracket hole and add a washer on the other side. Then slide the bolt through the side hole of the dethatcher tray and secure in place with a 5/16 inch hex nut. Tighten both sides until the dethatcher tray is barely free to pivot. Step 6. Connecting the lift handle. Add the right angle of the transport link to the lift handle, as shown. Then, raise the handle to a vertical position and pass the other end through the clevis, securing in place with a hairpin cotter. The dethatcher should raise up to a disengaged position by pulling back the lever. When lowered, the tines should be 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the ground, and the front of the tray should be slightly higher than level. Using the Velcro tape supplied, attach the dumping handle to the back of your tractor or riding mower. Your Brinly Sweeper Dethatcher 2-in-1 combo is now ready to use. When engaged, the dethatching tines will flick the dead grass and thatch up to the surface, where the sweeper will push thatch and more into the easy dump hamper. For questions, call Brinly Customer Service at 877-728-8224. Brinly, making things better since 1839.